4 of their MIC and certified ER nurses have quit, and Sierra Sacramento EMS has downgraded mayors to an alternate EMS base station. That puts a tremendous strain on the system. And for us to wait for an advanced life support responder now, we may be starting to look at hour and a half to 2 hours. It's becoming a very dicey situation for us. So we're coming to you with this. I have also on the agenda next week for MoDOC's Board of Supervisors to request a resolution to call for a special election on May 3rd. And we're going to have the same process here that we're going to ask for. Also, we don't want to change the boundaries because of the LAFCO time involved in restructuring and everything, so we can meet timelines through the LAFCO process to get the election completed by May 3rd. The reason we're shooting for that rather than the election in June is, number one is we wouldn't be on the tax rolls in time to facilitate anything this year, and that would put us out until about 2017 to have an active ambulance that would be working. The other thing is there are several initiatives on the ballot already revolving tax measures, and we all know what happens when you start putting very many tax measure ballots on it. It's just automatically a no. So that's just a quick summary of what's going on. I would ask that we'd be on the agenda for your next meeting to call for a resolution for a special election.
We can do that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for your information and update, and Richard, you put that on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last question, Iona.
Yes. Iona McCain, I just wanted to bring up some information that I recall about the issue of the misplaced funds back about 5 years ago, about $10,000 that Eric put up, and we found out through not Jack Hansen, but Jack Hansen was board supervisor at the time, and it was a closed session. And I remember we were trying to figure out where did all that money go to. And I recall that that board, the Standish board, had to file their minutes with the assessor, and that's where I got some minutes that informed me, and I think it was Karen Faust that was there, that they, the board at the Standish Litchfield Fire District, filed their minutes with them, and of course it was closed session, but I eventually got to the point, we did, that there was that misappropriation of the funds, and maybe this gentleman here should go there and get the minutes.
Why don't you work with him on that?
Huh?
Why don't you work with that gentleman on that issue?
Oh, is that? Well, I'm going to go to the entire, I'm going to spend my time going through the entire neighborhood between Belfast Ranch and Blair Lane. I'm going to personally walk it.
Thank you, Iona, for your information. Pete Herman, Coleman. Coleman. Hey, Pete.
Good morning.
You got help, huh?
Yes, sir. Where's the dog?
Whispering.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pete Holman. I am president of the Lassen County Deputy Sheriff's Association. With me is Deputy Brandon Vincent, our K-9 deputy, and the past vice president of our association. Myself and Deputy Vincent are the negotiators for the Deputy Sheriff's Association. We are here to speak with you today in reference to bargaining and not in our official capacity as deputies. The reason we have come before you today is to advise the board that our intent is to declare impasse with Lassen County. We feel that after attempting to get a contract for almost a year now, our issues cannot be resolved within the framework of negotiations. Our intent is not to be confrontational with you. In fact, that is the last thing we want. We only ask that when the time comes, you will listen to our requests. Our feeling is that we started figuratively by asking for $1, and the county offered us a nickel. These negotiations have been counterproductive from the beginning. Above all other things is our concern for deputy and public safety, which is hard to achieve and maintain due to our high turnover rate. Our association feels that if the board listened to our needs and looked at the statistics of the neighboring cities and counties, they would be surprised at how little it would take to make our membership feel as if the county is taking care of us and not discarding us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys had a good one. Back to your map. Run around the circle, Matt.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For sake of brevity, I've written this down. I have for several weeks, if not months, been struggling with the communications that have occurred between the county's negotiator and the various bargaining units of the sheriff's office. I have, for the most part, kept silent. Last week, Under Sheriff Mino and Captain Jones addressed this board regarding the same subject. As I stand before you today, every member of the Lassen County Sheriff's Office is at impasse. First, I want to say without reservation, this board has always supported the sheriff's operations, whether it be replacement of control boards, allotting more critical positions, or authorizing the contract with CFMG, and I'm sincerely grateful for that. In the early years of my career, I heard two consistent things. If you want good employees, pay them what they are worth. And it's cheaper to live in Lassen County. In the last few years, I've heard these two things. I could go out in the woods and get anyone to do that job. It's not that we pay too little, it's that everyone else pays too much. Then just last week in this boardroom, someone said, if we want good board members, we have to pay them better. I agree. If we want good employees and want to keep them, we need to pay them what they are worth. However, it is no longer cheaper to live in Lassen County. We consistently have higher gas prices than other areas, and this doesn't only raise the cost of fuel of our vehicles, but also reflects in the cost we pay for groceries and other services in our community. If our employees come to work and they are worrying about how they are going to pay rent or daycare, if they are thinking about how they are going to afford to pay for clothes or sign-up fees for the sport their child wants to participate in, they are not focused on the task at hand, and this is a very real danger that could get them killed. While the board works on numerous worthwhile projects, I'm simply asking you to ask yourselves these questions. What is it worth to each of you and your constituents to have someone there to answer the 911 call when your wife, son, daughter, mother, or father calls asking for help? What is it worth to know help is on the way? What is it worth to know someone is going to come regardless of what the circumstances are? What is it worth to know someone is making sure the person that victimized you or your family is kept in jail so they can't victimize anyone else? And last, what is it worth to know there are young men and women wearing uniforms bearing the Lassen County Sheriff's Office badge that are willing to lay down their lives to protect you and your family and have done so in the past? I'm not so cynical or jaded to believe this board doesn't care about the employees of the county or the Sheriff's Office. And I know as the board works through the budget, many things are going to have to be considered. I also know the employees of the Sheriff's Office have and will continue to provide professional services to this county and to the citizens and visitors of this county, regardless of the outcome of the negotiations. I'm just hopeful the board will find a way to show the employees what their worth is to them and the citizens of Lassen County. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, is there anybody else who wishes to speak in public comment? Come up to the podium and say your name for the recording.
Dave Jermaine, CAL FIRE Lassen Modoc Unit Chief, also serving as the Lassen County Fire Warden and the OES County Director of OES. Chairman, board members, I'm here on behalf of CAL FIRE and the county, and as a non-paid county employee and a paid state employee, I cannot choose sides between a fire board and a fire department, but at the end of the day, I need a fire department to respond in the county. That's my main goal, is to get the services to the public that they need. I know there's some legality here, but any way, shape, or form the board can assist in bringing these two parties together, the board, the Standish Fire Board, and the Standish Volunteers, would be highly appreciated if there's anything that you members can do. These men and women of the volunteer departments that we have in the county are very dedicated. They schedule their vacation, they schedule their work around people being able to cover those engines. And anything that we can do or that you can do as a board member, please, I ask you to assist in reaching some sort of solution to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else wishing to speak in public comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on and thank everybody for your input, and hopefully maybe we can get a mediator or something to help get that fire department issue rectified. With that, we will move on to unagendized reports by board members. Jim, do you have anything?
I just had one thing, Mr. Chairman, just wanted to bring to the board's attention. I know Mr. Egan will be following up with probably more details, but last Friday, the legislature concluded its legislative session for this year. There's some special sessions that are kind of like floating out there as well, dealing with transportation and healthcare financing and the like. But of significance, and I think, something we've talked about numerous times in the past, back in June when the budget was adopted, there was provisions for fixing what was known as the negative flow county issue. It's actually an issue that dates back over 30 years. It's something that Lassen County has been affected by when Prop 13 passed and the formulas that were developed to apportion the tax revenues. The counties that had ample reserves at the time were required to use their reserves to fund their own bailout before the state would step in and provide bailout funding. So the counties that overspent were basically rewarded, and the counties that were prudent lost out. And there were 10 counties out of the 58 counties that fell in that category, and Lassen was one of them. Since that time, there's been numerous formulas that have morphed from the original formulas, which just continues to perpetuate the unfairness of that. And when we talk about what does that really mean to us, at the time, I did my master's thesis actually on the topic, so that's why I'm kind of passionate about the issue. At the time, we documented and quantified that Lassen County was basically shortchanged $600,000 a year, and during that first 5-year period of time, that amounted to $3 million. And over the last 30 years, easily represents $18, $20, $25 million, because that value of that $600,000 in tax revenue changes. And when we talk about it in simplistic terms, people oftentimes say, well, why don't you have any money? I mean, we pay our property taxes, isn't that enough? But they don't realize that only 19 or 20 cents on the dollar of the property tax dollar actually gets allocated to the county. The city received roughly 7 cents on the dollar, and the special districts and the like pick up about 3 cents on the dollar, and the remaining 70 cents on the dollar is basically shifted to pay, to reimburse the state for what the state pays towards education. It doesn't fully fund education, but education is a state expense, but they pay their bill by using our tax dollars. That's the formula that was created. You may think, well, what's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with it in the city and county of San Francisco? They basically get to keep 85 cents on the dollar to pay for their local services, and only 15 cents on the dollar goes to fund the state bill for education in San Francisco. And the other 56 counties is somewhere in between those two ranges. So Lassen County has always been on the short end of the stick. And so last year, and when I was at the CSAC conference, we had representatives there from the legislative analyst's office talking about all the money that's starting to flow and all the fixes that are going to take place. And needless to say, for the umpteenth time, I raised my hand and said, well, what about the negative flow counties? When are we going to be able to get some justice here and equality? And the guy did, it caught his attention. He said, yeah, that's an issue that is going to be addressed, he thought, in the governor's budget in January. He put forward a $6 million fix to remedy that, to fund that situation for the 5 counties that still remain in the bind: Stanislaus County, Alpine County, Plymouth County, Trinity County, and Lassen County. It remained in the governor's budget after the May revise. It went before the legislative budget committees and was approved in the budget in June 15th when they passed it. But the funding for it was tied up in one of the trailer bills. It was AB 113, but that bill, because it involved redevelopment, was basically sidetracked and was not acted upon. So we've been kind of out in limbo, and at one point people pretty much declared the issue dead once again. And this is not the first time, but numerous times we've been down that road. But miraculously, last Thursday and Friday, that issue reemerged as part of the redevelopment bill discussion, and Senate Bill 107 was amended in the Assembly, and the provisions of the negative flow counties being given some equality. And that's what this, you have the handout I gave you. This is, it's a 104-page bill, and it's this kind of printed, but there's the last two sentences here in the first half of page 93 is the provisions that rectify that error, you might say, that's been perpetuated all these years. So it passed out both the Assembly and the Senate and is now sitting on the governor's desk. According to my thesis, I quantified that the extent of what that shortfall is about $600,000. It kind of fits in the dynamics of $5.9 million that was put in the budget to fund this for about $4 million, according to a CSAC analysis back in June that I saw, which I haven't been able to get my hands on, and Richard and I are trying to figure out what it really means to us, but at some point in time we'll get some detail. If the governor doesn't veto Senate Bill 107, then I think this problem is going to be resolved. Now, the sad news is they're not going to pay back to us the $20 million or so that they shortchanged us for the last 30 years, services that could have been rendered to our county. But they're going to fix the formula now. So instead of getting, 20 cents on the dollar, we may get 25 or 30 cents on the dollar. So the school side of the property tax allocation, the schools aren't going to lose any money. That's their guaranteed funding from the state in its entirety. But how the state pays for that funding of that expense will be a reduction of utilization of the property tax money, which allows that money to shift to the county general fund. So we'll have some relief starting this year and from now on in future years. So I think that is an extremely important thing. If it develops and the governor doesn't veto or blue pencil that provision, it's only one little paragraph out of 104 pages of fine print. But to me, it's something that I've been waiting 30 years to see resolved, and I'm really happy to know that the legislature finally got it right, and the governor's office and the legislative analysts have all indicated that that's what they want to see done. So hold on, and we'll know sometime between now and October 11th, because that's how long the governor has to determine the bill.
Thank you, Jim, for that update. Aaron, you have anything?
Yeah, I had a couple of things. The first is that yesterday we had a transportation meeting. Wasn't a whole lot exciting going on there. They're going to discontinue the dial ride services and the extended hours that they have been providing.
Yeah, nobody's used it for 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months, so we're just going to discontinue it. And then, of course, yesterday was Mr. Chapman's 35 years of wedded bliss with his wife.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing I'd like to bring up maybe for next week, if we can have it on the agenda, is, here we are in the middle of September almost, and it's getting to the start of the accumulation of the cultivation of the marijuana. And that would be interesting to have Melody and Maury and Dean, if they could come up and tell us how our new ordinance is working, and maybe Mr. Howell, and just kind of give us an update as we're moving forward on this with our new ordinance, so we can be informed behind the things
And reactive.
and be reactive and
Not
not
reactive,
wait for the last minute.
Go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor, may I make a request?
Yeah.
Would you give me until the meeting after that? We have some enforcement action scheduled between now and then. And I think I'd be able to provide you with a more, I don't want to, in a public session, tip my hand where the enforcement efforts are going.
I hear you.
We
I
can
don't
do
think
that.
that would be productive for the
But I see a
enforcement
lot of
action.
stuff that hasn't been necessarily, isn't what in the ordinance that we've seen.
How about if in the near future, whatever works best?
The sooner the better, I think.
Perhaps we can visit.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
The first meeting in October, is that too late? The harvest season?
No, I think the enforcement actions are going to be going on in the meantime anyways.
Good. Anything else, Jim?
That's all I have.
Yep. Tom?
Well, we're going to begin our community cleanups in Hurlong this weekend, Doyle the following weekend, and Levitt Lake in the 8th and 9th. And maybe I can talk to Dawn about that. Maybe we can get the volunteers to help us clean up the community. We're going to put a couple dumpsters in each location, and hopefully we can start getting stuff cleaned up in District 5. Another thing, I would like to donate $250 to the Northern California Cancer Advocates, and I have their stuff right here. I'll put that bill to somebody from the market.
Okay, thank you, Joe. All right, let's move to F1, Lassen County Assessment Appeals Board for the vacancy.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I may, there's one of the regular sitting members of the board resigned, leaving a vacancy in regular sitting members on the Assessment Appeals Board. There are 2 applicants. That vacancy was advertised, if you will, by the county clerk for the defined time frame. There are 2 applicants. The 2 applicants are currently the appointed alternate members to that board, and you'll find their applications in your package. I did, because I didn't make it to the package before publication, but I did circulate to each of you, and there are copies down here of a printout of 1624, the Revenue and Taxation Code, which defines the criteria on which selections for that position should be made. So with the standard set forth in what you were provided in 1624 and the applications that you have in your packet, will remain available for any questions.
Whether we need to make an appointment?
Yes.
We have an alternate 1 and an alternate 2, so I would move that we appoint alternate 1. Both of them applied for the vacancy, that we appoint alternate 1, Julie Brown, to the vacant position, and then that would make alternate 2 now not alternate 1. So we have an alternate in place.
Okay, a motion and a
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Ayes have it. Thank you. F2, PSA 2. Do you have any?
Yeah, the advisory council, which augments the executive body for PSA 2, and this is required under the Older Americans Act. We're required to have, I think we have 4. It used to be 5, but they reduced it, and I think it's down. 3 is the number of seats now. They've kind of reduced because there's 5 counties, and it was just too big of a body with 25 people. So now they have 15 people, 3 from each of the 5 counties. And 2 of our positions are vacant. And Penny Arts, who's the executive director for the senior program here, is put in for it. I've moved to appoint her to fill one of the 2 vacancies.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Comments from the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Ayes have it. The information consent calendar. Anything on there you wish to take off in separate consideration?
G4 and 5, please.
4 and 5. Anything else? From the public, Ms. Spencer?
G3.
G3.
Mr. Chairman, our board rules changed last week.
Areas outside of that, so it would be a joint meeting of that body within the jurisdiction of that body.
Okay, that wasn't clear in the minutes.
Okay, if that's not clear to me, let's make it clear.
So I think what that should mean is that the September 15th meeting was supposed to be held in Big Valley, up in Deep,
Which is in Lassen County.
which is in Lassen County. But that was going to be in conjunction with Modoc County to have that. And all this is saying is that, that meeting was supposed to be entirely for Lassen County purposes. But that meeting it was to include Lassen Flood Control District. And that's what didn't get straightened out. And we're going to reschedule a portion of that meeting to the September 15th, which is supposed to go at a different time, which may be in Modoc County.
And as far as Spencer's legal analysis about the ability of this board to meet in another county, I'll defer that to county council, but certainly an issue we need to consider because we have Quad County meetings.
How do you reconcile that statement with our Clark County meetings?
So we'll have to review that.
We've had
There are limitations. She's right. There
No,
are
I
limitations.
appreciate the effort because there is a question there.
Usually the Quad County meetings aren't taken business items. It's basically, those are information meetings where they have presentations and the board comes back to the respective counties and act on anything that needs to be acted on. So that's maybe the difference there. But the Quad County meetings or even 2 counties, we've met with Washoe commissioners in the past, and over there and over here, so.
Okay, with that clarification, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposing, no, ayes have it. G4, public works.
I just want to see the bids on these. I mean, we're asked to make a decision, I want to make an informed decision and just getting a piece of paper with, you know, what, I just want to be more transparent, I guess. I think that's informative for the board, so we can read each bid,
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
you know. I don't have,
Yeah, basically what I did was just a summary of the bid.
Yeah,
In this case, it's a liquid propane.
Right.
It's a BPM, which is a fixed weekly
Right.
price, and then they bid
the margin.
their margin over the top of that.
No, I'd just like to see the bids. is all.
We can re-agendize it for next week and include those.
Well, no, all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not opposing to,
I know we discussed that, I think, the last time we had a bid.
yeah, I mean, when
Apologize for
I'm
it.
asking to spend some money here, I want to see the bids. I don't want to just make it on a,
No problem.
Okay. With that, you don't need a motion to approve.
I move we approve G4 and 5.
And 5. Okay, we got a second. Any discussion? Public? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Did we approve the rest of the consent calendar? I did that first, didn't